We're all pushing for a green energy future, right? But what if the very solution to our climate crisis is, well, creating a brand new one? Today we're diving into a really critical paradox, one that could totally redefine what it means for something to be truly sustainable.
So here's the question we have to ask. In our race to save the climate with green energy, are we accidentally sacrificing our planet's biodiversity? I know it sounds crazy, but it's a very real risk that experts are now urgently trying to figure out.
And this is the core of the problem, right here. On one hand, we absolutely need renewable energy, wind, solar, hydropower, to fight climate change. But on the other hand, the very land and seas these projects need are home to really important ecosystems. So without some super careful planning, our climate goals could end up directly torpedoing our conservation goals.
So, how do we fix this? Well, here's our game plan. First, we'll break down this hidden conflict and talk about its real-world ecological price tag. Then, we're going to dive into a pretty groundbreaking European project and its innovative toolkit that's designed to create some harmony between green energy and nature.
All right, so let's jump right into this hidden conflict. And just to be clear, this isn't about blaming green energy. Not at all. It's about facing a complex reality where sometimes our best intentions can have, well, some pretty major unintended consequences.
And look, this isn't just some vague idea. The researchers behind a huge European initiative, and we'll get to them in a minute, they put it this bluntly: the paradox is real. If we don't have a plan that weaves ecology into the process from day one, we risk solving one crisis by just fueling another one.
So, what does this conflict actually look like out in the real world? Let's take a closer look at the specific ecological price tag for each of our main renewable energy sources.
First up, wind farms. They're amazing, generating clean power from the sky, but they can be a serious threat to the animals that also use that sky. We're talking especially about birds on their ancient migratory flight paths.
And then you've got these huge solar parks, which are obviously essential for grabbing all that sun. But when you cover vast stretches of land with panels, it can completely change the ground underneath, messing up soil habitats and basically chopping up ecosystems that used to be connected.
Now, hydropower, that's one of our oldest renewable energy plays, but we've known about the cost for a long time. Dams can totally re-engineer river systems, right? They block fish from migrating and change the flow of water for entire regions.
And finally, bioenergy. Growing crops specifically for fuel? Well, that often means turning natural land into these massive fields of just one crop, which can really degrade the soil and cause a huge drop in the local biodiversity.
Okay, so faced with this whole paradox, the big question is, can we find some harmony here? And this brings us to the BRET project. It's this really ambitious effort to find a way for green energy and nature to not just get along, but to actually thrive together.
BRET, it stands for Biodiversity-Positive Renewable Energy Transition, is a European project with a goal that's frankly pretty radical. They're not just trying to minimize harm. Nope. They're trying to figure out how our green energy transition can actually help nature recover.
So, how are they possibly going to do that? Well, BRET has developed what you can basically think of as a 4-part toolkit. It's a clear, logical plan to completely change how renewable energy projects are designed and built from the ground up. Their approach is this brilliant 4-step process. It starts with a simple rule: you can't protect what you don't measure. So, step 1, create a clear baseline. Then, they assess a project's entire life cycle, from the first shovel in the ground to the day it's taken down. Step 3 is crucial. They put a real value on biodiversity, not just ecological, but economic and cultural too, so it can't just be ignored. And finally, they turn all that amazing data into actual policy recommendations, bridging that gap between research and the real world.
But listen, a great plan on paper is one thing, right? The real test is making it work. So, the next step for BRET is taking this toolkit out of the lab and putting it to the test in some of the most challenging, real-world scenarios across Europe.
And they are testing this thing everywhere. In the North Sea, they're studying how offshore wind affects marine life. Over in Spain, they're looking at a huge solar park right next to a super sensitive lake. In Sweden, they're helping update old hydropower plants. And in Eastern Europe, they're finding ways to make bioenergy work with the landscape, not against it.
Now here's the most important part. The goal here isn't just to publish some dusty academic papers. It's all about real-world impact. The stuff they're learning from these case studies is designed to go straight into improving major EU policies. We're talking about the actual rules that govern renewable energy, environmental assessments, and even the regulations that decide what really counts as a sustainable investment.
And this brings us to the most hopeful part of this whole story. The vision isn't just about, doing less harm. It's about building a future where our renewable energy projects are designed so smartly that they can actually help restore ecosystems, creating this amazing positive feedback loop between climate action and conservation. So we end up kind of where we started, but with a whole new perspective. The challenge is huge, for sure, but projects like BRET show us that it just might be possible to innovate our way out of this paradox. I guess the ultimate question for all of us is, can we build a future that isn't just green, but is also deeply, wonderfully wild?